belong to Thornton Village. I was born in 1950 and spent a lot of my time in the village, except when I was in the Royal Navy, and then I was in the prison service after that. And I came home after about 27 years, and I've come back to my village for the final furlong now that I'm 73 years old.
Is this the first book that you've published?
No. When I started writing, it'd be fair to say, I actually got into writing through poetry, and I came 7th in a national poetry competition, and I got intrigued by cartoons, and took a little shot at trying to be a scriptwriter for cartoons, newspaper cartoons. And I was fortunate, I got an agent in London, Peter Knight Agency in London, and they promoted my first piece of work. And within a fortnight, I'd sold a cartoon to the Sun newspaper. And then 3 or 4 different cartoons followed that. And each of them has been made into books during the time. And then I broke into the Daily Record here in Scotland when my cartoon took over from Angus Hogg. When the gentleman who done Angus Hogg died, I came in as a replacement. And it's now the longest running cartoon ever in a Scottish newspaper.
So you went from cartoons to books, basically.
I went through cartoons. The cartoons, each one of them has been made into a book at some stage, and I wrote a children's short story, and it got serialised in a newspaper. And then out of the blue, I was contacted, well, I knew the guy, but out of the blue, Willie Johnson, who played for Rangers, Hearts, Scotland, and is famous for getting sent home from Argentina, approached me to write his biography. I didn't think that it was my cup of tea because I wasn't that type of writer, but we done the book, and it was voted Sports Book of the Year in 2008.
That's amazing. How did you go to about writing this one, and why, having written about your different cartoons, and you're saying your children's book there, but how did you come to writing about Thornton, which
Right.
I'm right in saying is where you grew up in, is obviously a village close to your heart?
Yeah, it's very close to my heart. And when I came home 12 years ago to make sure that was me home for good, I was approached by somebody in the street, and they knew I knew about quite a bit about the history of the village, and they asked me a question, and I didn't know the answer. It was a history question. I didn't know the answer, and my thoughts were, well, if you don't know the answer, you normally go and find an older villager and approach him, and he'll give you the answer. And as I walked away from the person who asked me the question, I thought, I am an older person. Who do I ask now? And at that point, I thought, somebody has got to write a book about the history of the village. So that's really how it all began.
How long, I want you to briefly talk about, the process, how long it took, because obviously, as we've seen, it's not a small book. So how long did it take you? Where did your inspiration for it come from? All that sort of thing.
Well, the inspiration came from that I deeply love my own village, and that was my inspiration to do it. The fact I'd done Wally Johnson's book and I'd researched his history, it gave me an inkling of how to write the book. In essence, it took me about 3 years to write this book. It was a lot of research. I had a great research team. Without them, it might have taken me 5 years to write the book. But they went and collected a lot of information for me. I was able to get it, put it all together, and 3 years down the line, we had a book. And I actually, the book was getting so large that it was becoming a concern whether there was a printer in Fife who could actually handle the size of the book. It reached 100,000 words. There was 434 pages, I think, and it was getting large. So I stopped. And since then, it's been such a success, sales-wise, that I've got enough information to do book 2. So that's going to happen.
So there's going to be a
There's going to
volume
be a book 2
in the future.
There is definitely going to be a volume 2, without doubt.
Have you started writing that? Is that in the process? How long's, when's that going to
I
come?
went away down to England for a few days there and gave myself a break. I came home the other day, and the first couple of pages are done now. So, and it's the most difficult bit to do, get the first couple of pages down there. You're looking at a blank paper. It's not blank anymore.
No, it sounds great, and I'll get that list of kind of where people can get it and stuff and let everyone know. But no, that it sounds very interesting. And is there anything that you're wanting to add in about the book, about anything going on that you want to add at the end here just before we wrap things up?
Yeah, so when I started writing the book, I looked at local history books on villages, and what intrigued me about them, although I found them all interesting to look at, they were just little booklets, and they were mainly they covered when this building was built and what it's doing now, and what I've added in to my book is I've made it personal to the people of the village. I've went back in history, and there's people in the village, their great-granddads in the book, or their great-great-granddads in the book. And I go all the way through that until I reach the point where people who are now living in the village, they're in the book. So it's not just about the village itself, it's about the people of the village. And that's why it's so long.
No, that sounds great. Tom, it's been lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Perfect. Oh. Perfect.
No nerves at all.